A giant war dragon named Vaelkor lived alone on a cold, broken moon. The moon had no color, no trees, and no sound except the soft wind that moved across the empty rocks. Vaelkor chose this lonely place because he believed there was no one left in the galaxy he could trust. Long ago, he belonged to a proud dragon race that flew through stars and protected many worlds. But everything changed when the Kryth came. The Kryth were a cruel alien species who desired power over all living beings. They attacked the dragons without warning, using dark weapons that broke both body and spirit. Vaelkor saw his clan fall one by one, and he learned that trust could be a dangerous thing. Since that day he had trusted no one. His heart crystal, the source of a dragon's power, was cracked. It had been struck during the final battle, leaving a deep fracture that glowed weakly like a dying star. With the crystal damaged, he could not fly across the sky like before. His wings were strong, but without the crystal's energy they felt heavy and slow. His fire breath, once bright and powerful, had become nothing more than short bursts of heat. This weakness reminded him of the past he wanted to forget. Each day he tried to repair the crystal with old dragon rituals, but nothing worked. Vaelkor spent most of his days inside a large cave shaped by centuries of wind and time. The cave was filled with stone pillars and glowing minerals that cast a soft blue light on the walls. The cave had become his only safe place, silent and hidden from all enemies. He hunted small creatures that lived underground and slept in long cycles to save his strength. He told himself he preferred the silence, but deep in his heart he knew he was simply afraid of opening himself to anyone ever again. One night, while he rested with his wings folded tightly around him, the calm sky above the moon suddenly changed. A bright streak of light rushed across the surface and ended with a loud explosion that shook the ground. Vaelkor quickly lifted his head. His senses sharpened. The noise came from near the entrance of his territory. He moved carefully toward the sound, each step slow but strong. Even in his weakened state, he was still a dragon, a creature built for battle. When he reached the edge of a tall cliff, he looked down at the crash site. A small human ship lay broken in a field of silver dust. Smoke rose from its engine, and sparks danced across its metal surface. The ship looked fragile compared to the powerful star vessels Vaelkor had seen in his past. He narrowed his eyes. Humans were not common in this part of the galaxy. They usually stayed near their own colonies and did not travel far unless in large groups. Vaelkor stayed in the shadows, hidden by the rocks. His claws dug lightly into the stone as he observed. He hated the idea of strangers entering his space, especially humans, who he believed were soft and easily frightened. He thought humans would scream and run at the sight of him, just like many other species did. He had seen how various creatures considered dragons dangerous, and he did nothing to change that belief. Through the smoke he saw movement. A human climbed out of the ship. The man was young, with short dark hair and a face marked with exhaustion and dust. He looked around carefully, placing his hand on the side of the broken ship as if steadying himself. Another person appeared shortly after. This one was a woman who seemed hurt, holding her arm tightly as she tried to stand. Vaelkor watched them closely. They were stranded, weak, and far from home. He told himself that their problem was not his problem. He did not want to get involved in the affairs of others. He had learned long ago that helping others often ended in pain. He had lost everything because he trusted the wrong beings once, and he would not repeat that mistake. And yet, as he continued to watch them struggle, a strange feeling grew inside his chest. It was not pity. Dragons did not feel pity. It was something else, something he had buried deep inside himself for years. The woman seemed to be in pain, and the man looked desperate as he tried to support her. Their fear was clear, but so was their will to survive. Vaelkor moved a little closer, still staying hidden. He wanted to understand why the humans were here. Their ship was small, clearly not prepared for long travel, and it carried no weapons strong enough to harm him. He wondered if they were explorers, travelers, or perhaps running from something. The Kryth still hunted across many systems. It was possible these humans were victims of the same enemy that had destroyed his clan. He lowered his head and sniffed the air. He sensed no carriage scent nearby, only metal, smoke, and the faint smell of human fear. Vaelkor stayed silent, unsure what to do. Part of him wanted to turn away and return to his cave. Helping anyone went against the rule he had lived by since the fall of his race. But something about the fragile humans held his attention. They looked so small in the vast, empty land. He knew they would not survive long without shelter or supplies. The moon was harsh, and the temperature dropped quickly once the blue sun dipped behind the mountains. The humans were already shaking from cold and exhaustion. The man tried to repair something on the ship, but his hands trembled. Vaelkor stood completely still, watching from the shadows. He felt the cracked heart crystal pulse weakly inside his chest. He did not understand why he cared at all. He told himself it was only curiosity. Dragons did not help humans. Dragons did not help anyone. Not anymore. And yet, for the first time in many years, he did not turn away. The cold wind moved across the broken land as Vaelkor stayed hidden above the crash site. The humans were struggling more with every passing minute. The man tried to guide the woman to a place where the ground was less sharp, but she stumbled and nearly fell. He caught her with both arms, speaking softly to calm her. Vaelkor could not hear the words, but he could see the worry in the man's eyes. The woman sat down on a rock and held her arm tightly against her chest. Her face was pale, and her breathing was uneven. The man searched inside the ship for supplies, but it was clear the crash had destroyed almost everything they had. He found only a small light and a broken tool. He looked helpless, and for a moment, he simply sat beside her, shoulders heavy. Vaelkor felt a strange pressure in his chest. He told himself again that their lives were none of his concern. Humans lived short lives, and their problems did not matter to a dragon who had survived centuries. Yet something deep inside him refused to let him leave. He remembered a moment from long ago, when his own clan had been attacked by the Kryth. He remembered the cries, the fear, the ones who could not escape. The pain of those memories burned like fire in his cracked heart crystal. He closed his eyes, trying to push the memories away, but they came back stronger. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the woman leaning against the man, unable to stay upright on her own. The man held her carefully, whispering something to keep her awake. Their weakness reminded Vaelkor of a time when he had been powerless too, trapped under rubble, waiting for help that never came. He growled softly at the memory, his claws scraping against the stone beneath him. The sound echoed through the cliffs, and the man below froze. He looked around quickly, fear rising in his eyes. The woman lifted her head weakly, sensing something was near. Vaelkor stayed silent. He did not want to scare them, but he also did not want them to know he was watching. He took a slow breath, calming the unstable energy in his heart crystal. The man pulled out a small device from his pocket. It blinked red. He tapped it, shook it, then sighed when nothing changed. It was probably a beacon, a signal for help. But this moon was too far from human space. No one would reach them in time. As the man tried to fix the beacon, a sudden sound cut through the cold air. A sharp metallic buzz. Vaelkor's eyes narrowed. He knew that sound. It was a Kryth drone. He scanned the skies. A small black machine flew low across the land, its red sensors searching the surface. The drone was damaged but still active, likely separated from a larger group. Its presence meant something dangerous. The Kryth were nearby or had been. Vaelkor pressed his body lower to the ground, watching closely. The humans did not see the drone yet. The machine moved quietly toward them like a predator stalking prey. The woman noticed it first. Her eyes widened. She grabbed the man's sleeve weakly and pointed. The man turned and froze when he saw the drone hovering only a short distance away. He stepped in front of the woman, raising a broken metal pipe like a weapon. It was useless against Kryth technology, but he held it tightly anyway. He shouted at the drone, though the words were lost to the wind. His legs shook, but he did not back away. Vaelkor watched the scene with disbelief. Humans were fragile creatures. Their bones broke easily, and their lives were short. Yet this human, wounded and exhausted, stood between danger and the woman he cared for. He expected the man to run, to hide, to save himself. But instead, he protected her. The drone charged a small weapon on its side. A red light glowed, preparing to fire. Vaelkor did not think. He moved like a shadow breaking free from the night. He leapt from the cliff, wings snapping open just enough to control his fall. The movement sent a sharp pain through his chest, but he ignored it. He landed between the humans and the drone with a thunderous impact. The ground cracked beneath his claws. The man stumbled back, dropping the metal pipe in shock. The woman gasped, eyes wide. The drone reacted instantly, firing a beam at Vaelkor. The beam hit his scales, but they held firm. With a deep roar, he unleashed a burst of fire. Not the powerful flame he once had, but enough. The fire struck the drone, melting its outer shell and sending it crashing to the ground. Silence followed. Only the wind moved. The man slowly lifted his head to look at the enormous dragon standing in front of him. His voice shook as he whispered, You saved us." Vaelkor did not answer. He kept his head low, watching the humans carefully. He did not trust them, not yet. He had only acted because the Kryth were an enemy he understood, and because something inside him refused to watch them die. The woman tried to speak, but her voice faded. She collapsed fully against the man, and he held her close. Vaelkor stepped back slightly. He still did not know why he had intervened. Dragons did not risk themselves for strangers. But the humans were not like the Kryth. They were weak, yes, but they protected each other even when it meant danger. As he looked at them, something inside him shifted. Something small, something unfamiliar. For the first time in many years, Vaelkor wondered if he had been wrong to believe that all beings were unworthy of trust. The air was still after the drone fell, smoke rising from its broken frame. Vaelkor stood tall but tense, his wings half open in case more enemies came. His cracked heart crystal pulsed weakly, sending a dull ache through his chest. The fire he had used drained more energy than he expected, and he had to steady himself with one claw against the ground. The man held the woman close, whispering something to her, trying to keep her awake. He kept glancing at Vaelkor, fear and confusion mixing in his eyes. He wanted to speak, but every time he opened his mouth, he stopped, unsure how to address a creature who could crush him with a single claw. Finally, the man took a slow breath and said, I don't know if you understand me, but thank you. You saved our lives." Vaelkor did not respond. He simply watched them. He could understand their words well enough. Dragons were intelligent beings, capable of speaking many languages, including human ones. But he had not spoken to any living creature in years. His voice felt locked away, unused and heavy. Instead, he moved slightly to the side, giving the humans more space. It was the closest he could come to showing he meant no harm, at least for now. The man looked at him more carefully. He seemed to gather courage from somewhere deep inside. "My name is Mason," he said, placing a hand on his chest. "And this is Lily. She's hurt. Her arm, I think it's broken. Our ship is destroyed. We can't stay out here for long." Lily groaned softly, leaning against Mason. Her face was pale, and her breathing shallow. Mason lifted her gently and tried to carry her back toward what remained of their ship, but his legs shook with the effort. Vaelkor watched them struggle again. A low growl rumbled in his throat, not from anger, but from frustration. The humans were too weak to survive on this moon. If more drones arrived, they would die within minutes. But helping them went against every rule he had lived by since his clan was destroyed. He did not trust other beings. He believed they always wanted something. They always took something. Mason turned back toward him. "I don't know if you understand, but we need shelter. Please, she won't survive out here much longer." His voice shook, not with fear this time, but with desperation. Vaelkor felt the ache in his cracked crystal again. He looked at Lily, her arm hanging uselessly, her body limp. The memory of his fallen clan rose again. Dragons lying helpless, wounded, alone. He had wished someone had saved them. He had wished someone had saved him. He hated the memory, but it pushed him forward. Slowly, carefully, Vaelkor lowered his massive head until he was at Mason's level. Mason froze, gripping Lily tighter, expecting teeth or fire. But instead, Vaelkor sniffed the air around them, sensing their weakness, their pain, their fear. He pulled back and looked toward the distant mountains where his hidden cave lay. Then he looked at Mason. Mason stared at him, confused. "What's happening? What are you trying to?" Vaelkor turned and began walking away a few steps. Then he looked back over his shoulder, his glowing eyes meeting Mason's. He let out a short, low rumble. Mason blinked. "You want us to follow you?" Vaelkor rumbled again, slightly louder. It was not a threat. It was a signal. Mason hesitated only a moment before nodding. Okay, we'll follow." He lifted Lily in his arms and began walking in the direction Vaelkor showed. His steps were slow, unsteady, but determined. Every few moments he glanced at the dragon, as if unsure if he was making the right choice. Vaelkor walked ahead, but not too far. He kept his pace slow enough that the human could keep up. The moonlight shone across his scales, highlighting the scars from battles long past. The journey to the cave was difficult. The ground was uneven, and Mason stumbled more than once. Each time he nearly fell, Vaelkor stopped and turned, watching closely. Not out of annoyance, but out of something else he did not want to name. After some time, the entrance to the cave appeared. A tall arch of stone with faint blue lights glowing inside. Mason stared at it with wide eyes. "This is amazing." Vaelkor stepped inside first, checking for danger out of old habit. Then he rumbled softly again, signaling the human to enter. Mason carried Lily into the warm interior. The glowing minerals on the walls filled the space with gentle light. The air inside was warmer than outside, protected from the cold winds. Mason laid Lily carefully on a smooth, flat rock. She sighed weakly, her eyes half open. Mason looked at Vaelkor. "I don't know how to thank you. I didn't think anyone would help us out here." Vaelkor stared back, silent. He did not know how to respond. He did not even know why he had helped. As he watched the humans settle in the cave, one thought echoed quietly through his mind. He had let strangers into his sanctuary, and he did not hate that choice as much as he expected. Inside the cave, the soft blue glow of the mineral walls made the air feel almost alive. The light reflected gently off Vaelkor's scales, giving him an otherworldly shine. Mason placed Lily on a smooth stone ledge and checked her arm again. She winced in pain, her breathing still unsteady. Mason whispered, "Stay with me, Lily. We're safe now." He wasn't sure if that was true, but he needed her to believe it. Vaelkor watched them from a short distance. His large wings folded close to his body, and his tail curled around a cluster of glowing stones. He stayed silent, studying the humans with calm but guarded eyes. The ache in his cracked heart crystal pulsed again, sending a sharp sting through his ribs. He tried to ignore it. Mason looked around the cave, noticing old markings on the walls. They were symbols carved long ago by dragon claws, shapes of spirals, wings, and stars. He walked closer, tracing the lines with his fingers. "This place, it's ancient," he whispered. Lily opened her eyes slightly. "What is it?" she asked weakly. "It's like a history. Maybe his people were here," Mason said softly. The mention of his lost race made Vaelkor's wings tighten. He lowered his head, a rumble echoing deep in his throat. Mason quickly stepped back, raising his hands. "Sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." Vaelkor stared at him, surprised. The human understood his reaction so quickly. Most species missed such details. His gaze drifted to Lily again. Her arm was swelling, turning purple. She needed help soon. Mason knelt beside her. "I need to make a splint, but all my supplies burned in the crash." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I wish I had tools. Even one working battery, anything." When he said the word battery, Vaelkor's eyes flickered. He remembered something, his heart crystal. Though cracked, it still produced energy. and dragons were connected to ancient technology in ways most species didn't understand. He stepped closer. Mason stiffened but didn't move away. Vaelkor lowered his head until his cracked crystal was only a few inches from Mason. The glow inside it flickered like a fading flame. Mason stared at it, amazed. "Your heart crystal, it's damaged." He paused. "If I had my tools, I think I could stabilize it. Maybe even repair part of it." Vaelkor let out a low growl of doubt. No human had ever touched a dragon's heart crystal. It was sacred. It was dangerous. It was everything a dragon was. But Mason continued, "I fix machines. I fix ships. I've even repaired alien tech before. I can try to help you if you'll let me." The idea felt wrong to Vaelkor. A stranger, especially a fragile human. Touching something so important was unthinkable. But the crystal pulsed again, and he nearly lost balance. If it broke completely, he would die. He knew this. Mason looked at him, eyes steady. "You helped us. Let me help you. We can save each other." Lily opened her eyes again, hearing the last part. Her voice was faint. "He saved us. We should help him too." Vaelkor moved back a step, torn between instinct and survival. His pride told him to refuse. His past told him humans could not be trusted. But Mason's eyes held no greed, no fear, just a simple desire to do what was right. After a long moment, Vaelkor lowered his head again and pushed his chest slightly forward, exposing the cracked crystal. It was an act of complete vulnerability. Dragons only did this with those they trusted. Mason's breath caught. "Are you giving me permission?" Vaelkor gave a short, slow nod. Mason moved closer, his hands shaking with care rather than fear. The crystal's light cast soft reflections across his face. He examined the fracture lines, studying the energy flow. "It's like a living circuit. I've never seen anything like this." He pulled a small device from his pocket, a tiny battery, dented but still usable. "This might work. I can stabilize the energy flow if I connect it here." He looked up at Vaelkor again. "You might feel some pain." "I'm sorry." Vaelkor grunted, signaling he understood. As Mason connected the battery to two sharp edges of the cracked crystal, a surge of blue light filled the cave. The crystal pulsed wildly, sending energy up Vaelkor's neck and wings. He roared in pain, the sound shaking dust from the ceiling. Mason nearly dropped the battery but held on, refusing to stop. Lily covered her ears, her eyes wide with worry. Then, slowly, the crystal's wild pulsing settled into a steady rhythm. The blue glow became stronger, clearer. Cracks remained, but the energy flowed more smoothly, no longer leaking out dangerously. The pain faded. Vaelkor lifted his head, testing his breath, his wings, his heartbeat. He felt stronger than he had in years. Mason stepped back, sweating and breathing hard. "It's not a full repair, but it should hold you together." Vaelkor stared at him. This small human had taken a risk no one else would have dared. He had touched a dragon's heart crystal and lived. Something deep inside Vaelkor shifted again. A feeling he had not allowed himself to feel in a very long time. Respect. Mason smiled weakly. "I told you, we can help each other." For the first time in years, Vaelkor felt warmth that was not from his crystal. He felt something like hope. The soft glow inside the cave grew steadier as Vaelkor's heart crystal stabilized. The blue light reflected on the walls, filling the space with a calm warmth. Mason sat on the ground, breathing hard from the effort of the repair. His hands were shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the intense concentration it took to work on something so delicate and powerful. Vaelkor tested his wings slowly. They felt lighter. The weight that had held him down for years was weaker now, no longer dragging him toward the ground. He stretched one wing, then the other. The energy flowing through him felt warmer, steadier. It was not the full strength he once had, but it was more than he thought he would ever feel again. Mason noticed and smiled. "It worked," he whispered. "I can't believe it actually worked." Lily, still lying on the stone ledge, opened her eyes and looked at the two of them. One human and one giant dragon, standing together. Her voice was weak but warm. I told you, you're good at fixing things, Mason. Mason blushed faintly. I got lucky. Vaelkor turned his gaze toward the woman. Her arm was still badly injured, and her skin was pale. He stepped closer, lowering his body so he wouldn't overwhelm her with his size. He sniffed the air around her carefully, sensing pain and weakness. Mason watched nervously. It's okay, Vaelkor. She's hurt, but she'll be okay if I can make a splint. I just need something to tie it with. Vaelkor looked around the cave. In one corner, thin strands of crystal vine grew along the walls, strong, flexible, and warm to the touch. Dragons once used them for rituals. Now, they were simply part of the cave's natural glow. He reached out with one claw, gently cutting several long vines. He carried them to Mason and placed them at his feet. Mason's eyes widened. You brought these for me? Vaelkor gave a small nod. Mason picked up the vines and examined them. These are perfect. They're strong but soft enough to tie. He began working quickly, wrapping Lily's arm and securing it gently. She winced a little but breathed easier once it was done. When Mason finished, he sat beside her, relief in his eyes. You'll heal, Lily. Just give it time. She smiled faintly. Thanks to you, and him. She motioned weakly toward Vaelkor. Vaelkor pulled back slightly, unsure how to react. He was not used to gratitude. He was used to fear, anger, and battle cries. The soft tone in her voice felt strange, but not unwelcome. Mason looked up at the dragon. You didn't have to save us, and you didn't have to help us after that. But you did. I won't forget that. The words hung in the air. They were simple, but they carried weight. They carried meaning. Vaelkor felt something shift inside him. Something he had locked away since the fall of his clan. He remembered flying with his people, working together, trusting one another. Felt like another life now. But for the first time since that terrible day, he felt a small piece of that lost feeling return. Mason stood and walked toward the heart crystal again. The repair will hold for a while, but it's only temporary. The battery I used isn't meant for something so powerful. If we can find a real power source, something with strong, clean energy, I can fix it better. Maybe even fully repair it. Vaelkor tilted his head. A stronger repair? Full strength? The idea felt impossible. Yet Mason spoke as if it were simply a problem waiting to be solved. Lily looked toward the entrance of the cave. But how do we find anything out there? Our ship can't fly, and we don't even know where we are. Mason sighed. We'll have to explore. Maybe there are old structures, mining stations, or crashed ships on this moon. Something must be here. Vaelkor listened carefully. He knew this moon better than anyone. He knew where the old dragon ruins were, where ancient crystals grew, and where deep tunnels hid forgotten technology. He had avoided those places for years, haunted by memories. But now he had a reason to return. He stepped toward Mason and lowered his head so the human could see his eyes clearly. Mason looked up at him, unsure what the dragon wanted. Vaelkor let out a short, low rumble, a sound of agreement. Mason blinked. You want to help us find what we need? Another rumble. Stronger. Lily smiled softly. He understands you, and he wants to help. Mason exhaled slowly. Okay then, we'll work together. We'll fix your heart crystal, and then we'll find a way off this moon. All of us. Vaelkor felt a warmth that was not from the crystal vines or the glowing walls. It was something deeper, something he thought he would never feel again. Trust. For years he had believed that no one deserved it, that no one could earn it. But these two small humans had done the impossible. And for the first time since his clan was destroyed, Vaelkor allowed himself to imagine a future that was not filled with loneliness. Vaelkor felt a new fire inside him. The repaired heart crystal glowed brighter each hour, filling his body with slow but steady strength. He had not felt this alive in many years, but he knew the peace would not last. The Kryth would come. They always came. Mason and Lily worked outside the cave, fixing small parts of their damaged ship. They checked wires, repaired panels, and tested power lines. They were tired, but they did not complain. Vaelkor watched them from the cave entrance. He still did not fully understand humans, but he understood one thing. These two had risked their lives for him. As the dim sun rose over the broken moon, a deep rumble shook the ground. Dust rolled down the cliffs. Lily looked up first. "Did you feel that?" she asked. Mason nodded. "Yeah, that wasn't the moon shifting. That was something landing." Vaelkor stood still. His wings tightened. "The KRYH have found us," he said in a heavy voice. Lily swallowed. "How many?" Vaelkor closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the distant vibrations. "A full strike group. They hunt in packs of 12. Their machines are fast and cruel. They will not stop." Mason looked around the cave and the land outside. He was afraid, but he did not let fear freeze him. He walked toward the tall crystal pillars that grew from the cave floor like ancient blue trees. "We can use these," he said. Vaelkor lowered his head. "The pillars are old. Older than my clan. They hold wild energy. Cannot be controlled." "Maybe not controlled," Mason said, "but maybe directed." Lily joined him, touching one of the glowing surfaces. "These crystals react to sound and pressure. If we can overload them, maybe we can create a shock wave strong enough to hit the KRYTH machines." Vaelkor stared at the humans. "You cannot understand the danger. The energy could destroy this entire cave." Mason looked back at him. "Then we take the risk together. If we don't try, we die anyway." For a moment, Vaelkor felt something strange. Respect. Trust trying to grow like a small flame. He did not fight it. "Tell me your plan," Vaelkor said. Mason took a deep breath. "Okay, the KRYTH will come through the valley. When they enter the mouth of the cave, you draw their attention. Lily and I will link the ship's battery to the pillars. Once the KRYTH are close enough, we trigger the overload. The shock wave will disrupt their tech. Then you finish them." Vaelkor looked at Lily. "And if the pillars break? Then the shock wave might swallow us," she said softly. "But we'll try to time it right. Trust us." That word, trust, felt heavy in Vaelkor's chest. He had not trusted anyone since his clan died. But these two humans had already proven more loyal than many dragons had been. "Very well," he said. "We fight together." Hours passed. The KRYTH machines grew closer. Their metal legs clicked and scraped against stone. Their red eyes glowed through the dust. The valley echoed with the sound of war. Mason and Lily connected wires, battery cells, and crystal bands. Sparks jumped between the pillars. The cave hummed like a living creature. Vaelkor stepped forward, blocking the entrance with his huge body. His heart crystal glowed like fire under ice. "They are here," he said. The first KRYTH drone crawled into view. Then another. Then many more. They moved like metal spiders, fast and sharp. They aimed their weapons at the cave. "Get ready," Mason whispered. Vaelkor roared. The sound shook the valley. Fire burst from his mouth, bright and wild. The KRYTH shot back, beams of red energy slicing the air. Lily checked the power gauge. It was almost full. "Mason, now!" Mason slammed the switch. The crystals exploded with light. A shock wave burst through the cave, rolling outward like a storm of blue fire. The KRYTH machines twisted, sparked, and fell. Metal cracked. Circuits burned. Vaelkor charged through the smoke, crushing the weakened drones. Shards of metal flew everywhere. He fought not like a broken dragon, but like the warrior he once was. When the last drone fell silent, the moon became still again. Mason and Lily stepped out of the cave, coughing from dust. Vaelkor stood over the ruins, wings spread wide. "The battle is not over," he said softly. "More will come, but today we stand as one." The valley was quiet after the battle, but it was not the peace of safety. It was the silence before a greater storm. Broken KRYTH machines lay scattered like metal bones. Smoke drifted in long gray lines. Vaelkor stood in the middle of the ruins, his wings half open, his body trembling with exhaustion. Mason and Lily hurried to him. "Vaelkor, are you hurt?" Lily asked. He lowered his head. "I will heal. My heart crystal is strong again, but my body has carried many wounds for many years. It needs time. Mason looked over the battlefield. That was only the first wave. They know where we are now. They'll send more. Maybe a full hunter fleet. We don't have long. Vaelkor stared at the sky, his eyes glowing faintly. The Kryth do not stop once they choose a target. They took my clan the same way. First the drones, then the hunters, then the warships. Lily stepped closer. So what do? We can't fight a fleet alone. For a moment no one spoke. The cold wind rolled through the valley, lifting dust and sparks of blue crystal light. Then Mason looked at the ship, then back at the cave. We make a shield, he said. Vaelkor blinked. A shield? The crystals cannot take another overload. Not using the crystals, Mason said. Your heart crystal. Vaelkor's wings tensed. No. You do not understand what you ask. The crystal is my life. If it cracks again, I die. Mason nodded slowly. I know. That's why we use it carefully. We don't overload it. We amplify it. We connect its energy to the ship's reactor and create a large barrier field around the cave. It won't stop the entire fleet, but it might stop the hunters long enough for us to escape. Vaelkor looked unsure, but Lily stepped closer. Mason has repaired things we all thought were impossible. He saved your heart crystal once. He can do it again. Trust him. Trust. That word again. Vaelkor felt the same tightness in his chest he had felt earlier. He hated the idea of risking his crystal, but he hated the idea of losing these two humans even more. Very well, he said. I will allow it. Mason smiled softly. Thank you. We'll work fast. For hours they worked inside the cave. Mason set up wires, metal coils, and a ring of stabilizers around Vaelkor's heart crystal. Lily adjusted the ship's power core, sweating as sparks flew across her hands. Vaelkor lay still in the center of the cave, wings folded, his crystal glowing bright as Mason carefully connected the energy lines. Tell me when it hurts, Mason said, and I'll slow the power flow. Pain is familiar, Vaelkor said quietly, but I have not felt purpose in a long time. That is new. Mason paused, then nodded. We'll get through this. All three of us. Lily glanced outside. Her eyes widened. They're coming. In the distance, dozens of red lights appeared in the sky. Kryth huntercrafts, fast, sharp, shaped like metal birds, were descending. Mason, she whispered. We're out of time. Mason tightened the final connector. Vaelkor, you have to focus. Send energy to the stabilizers, but slowly. Don't push yourself. Vaelkor closed his eyes. The heart crystal began to glow brighter. Its light filled the cave, casting long blue shadows. The stabilizers hummed, then crackled, then lit with arcs of blue lightning. It's working, Mason said. Lily, start the reactor. She hit the switch. The ship roared to life, lights flickering, panels shaking. Outside, the first Kryth hunter fired a beam that hit the ground near the cave, blasting stone into the air. Vaelkor opened his eyes. Hold steady. I will not fail you. He pushed more energy into the stabilizers. The cave floor shook. Bright blue light shot up the walls, then out into the open valley. A giant dome of blue energy formed around the cave like a glowing shell. The Kryth hunters fired again, but their beams bounced off the shield. It's holding, Lily shouted. Mason checked the power levels. Yeah, but only for a little while. Vaelkor, don't push too hard. Suddenly a loud crack echoed through the cave. Vaelkor roared in pain. The crystal, Mason yelled. It's overheating. Stop pushing energy. Vaelkor shook, struggling. If I stop, the shield falls. The hunters will kill you. We'll find another way, Mason yelled. Just stop before you destroy yourself. Another hit blasted the shield from outside. Cracks of light ran across the dome. Vaelkor breathed heavily. No. I will protect you, even if it breaks me. Mason ran to him, pressing a hand to the dragon's scales. You're not alone anymore. Don't do this alone. Let us help. For a brief moment, Vaelkor looked at him, truly looked, and something changed. He eased the energy flow. The shield steadied. Smaller but stronger. Mason adjusted the stabilizers quickly, redistributing the energy. Okay. We can hold it. We can hold it now. Outside, the HFY hunters circled, firing again and again, but the shield stayed. Lily checked the scanners. They're bringing in the big one. Command gunship. If that thing fires, the shield won't last. We have to move. Now. Mason nodded. Vaelkor, can you fly yet? Vaelkor slowly stretched his wings. They trembled, but they held. Yes, not far, but enough. Mason looked at the cave exit. Then let's get out of here before that gunship fires. Vaelkor lowered himself. Climb on. Both of you. Lily and Mason climbed onto his back. For the first time in many years, Vaelkor stepped forward, wings spreading wide. Hold on, he said. Then he leapt into the air as the Kryth gunship charged its main cannon. This time, they would fight as a team. The sky shook with the roar of engines as Vaelkor pushed himself higher. His wings burned with pain, but he ignored it. Mason and Lily held tightly to his scales as the cold wind tore past them. Below, the HFY hunters swarmed like metal insects, chasing with sharp red beams. They're gaining on us, Lily shouted. Mason looked back. Vaelkor, can you go any faster? My strength is limited, Vaelkor said, his voice strained. But I will not let them catch us. Hold on. He angled downward, diving into a canyon filled with jagged crystal spikes. The hunters followed, but the narrow walls made it harder for them to maneuver. Good move, Mason said. They'll crash if they get too close. But the relief did not last long. A deep humming sound filled the air. The gunship had arrived above the canyon. Lily looked up. It's charging its cannon again. If it fires here, the whole canyon will explode. Vaelkor spread his wings and shot out of the canyon just as the gunship fired. A massive red beam hit the crystal ground. The explosion tore through the canyon, sending clouds of debris into the sky. Vaelkor barely cleared it. He wobbled in the air, coughing smoke. Vaelkor, Mason shouted. You're hurt. We need to land. No, Vaelkor said. We cannot stop now. The gunship will fire again. We must destroy it. Lily frowned. How? We don't have weapons strong enough. Mason's eyes widened as a thought came to him. Wait, maybe we do. Vaelkor, your heart crystal. No, Vaelkor growled. I will not risk breaking it again. Listen, Mason said, leaning close. The gunship's cannon needs a huge amount of energy. If we get close enough and you release a burst of crystal fire, it might overload their weapon and blow the gunship apart. Vaelkor flew in silence for a moment. If I release that much energy, I may not survive. Lily placed her hand gently on his scales. You won't be alone. Whatever happens, we're with you. Vaelkor felt something warm move through him. Something he had not felt since the days of his clan. Trust. Real trust. Very well, he said. We end this together. Vaelkor rose high above the shattered land. The gunship spotted him and angled its cannon downward. It's charging again, Lily said. Vaelkor, Mason said softly. Now. Vaelkor took a deep breath. His heart crystal glowed brighter and brighter, sending warm blue light through his entire body. He could feel the power swelling, burning, threatening to break him. But he pushed forward. He faced the gunship head-on. For my clan, he whispered. For my new allies. And then he unleashed everything. Blue crystal fire exploded from his mouth, wider and brighter than anything he had ever created. It hit the gunship's cannon just as it reached full charge. The sky turned white. A shock wave blasted outward. The gunship tore apart in a burst of light and metal. The hunters below fell from the sky, their systems fried by the blast. Vaelkor was thrown back. His wings buckled. His body spun downward toward the ground. Vaelkor, Mason yelled. Pull up, please. But the dragon could barely move. The world grew dim. He hit the ground hard, sliding across the dust. Mason and Lily were thrown free but landed with only minor injuries. They scrambled to his side. Vaelkor lay still, his breathing weak. The heart crystal's glow was fading. "No, no, stay with us," Lily said, her voice shaking. Mason pressed his hand against the crystal. "It's cracked, but not shattered. If I can stabilize it again, he'll live." "Lily, tools. Now!" She rushed to the supply bag. Mason worked fast, connecting wires, placing stabilizers, using every skill he had. His hands shook, but he did not stop. "Come on. Come on. Don't leave us now," he whispered. The crystal flickered. Then it glowed, soft but steady. Vaelkor opened his eyes. "You saved me again," he said weakly. Mason laughed in relief. "Of course. That's what friends do." Vaelkor slowly lifted his head. "Friends, yes. That is what you are." Lily smiled warmly. "And you're not alone anymore." Vaelkor looked at the sky, now clear and quiet. "The Kryth will return in time. The galaxy must be warned. But we will not face them in the shadows. We will face them together." Mason nodded. "Then let's go. All three of us." Vaelkor spread his wings. They trembled, but they held strong. "Very well," he said softly. "A new journey begins." And with his two human allies beside him, the dragon who once trusted no one rose into the sky, ready to defend a galaxy that no one else believed was worth saving.